A proposal in a California city would fine landlords $6,000 if they kept their properties empty. And elsewhere in California, new housing laws are proving the point that the government cannot solve housing issues. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have two interesting articles for you today, and they're really covering the fact that more regulation is not going to actually help solve all of the housing issues that are going on in a place like California, okay? It's not going to make housing more affordable. It's not going to end the homelessness crisis. It's not going to make it so that it's easier for people to afford where they live. The only thing that more regulation does is the exact opposite. It makes housing less affordable, less available, and harder for the low-income people especially, and now even for the middle class and above. I mean, they've really screwed things up with all of their ridiculous laws, rules, and regulations in California, and that's just a fact, okay? The less regulations there are, the easier it is for builders to build, landlords to rent, and the less it will actually cost for the renters and the tenants. So that's my opinion, but I think it's been proven in fact. And it's just, if you look all over the country, in the states with the most regulations, the cities with the most regulations are the most expensive places to live. But before I get into those two articles, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think, okay? Do you think that all these regulations, rules, etc. are the reason why housing is so expensive in places like California and New York and, other very progressive places like that? Okay, if you don't, then leave a comment and let me know why, okay? If you do, also leave a comment and let me know what you think, okay? So, the first article I have for you today, and it's coming out of the city of Santa Cruz, and this is one of the more expensive places in California even, okay? So it's near Silicon Valley, and it's full of very wealthy and upper middle class tech people, okay? So this is not the kind of place that is known for having a lot of low income housing, but I think that this is reflective of what could possibly happen throughout the country pretty soon. So let's get into this article. This article, it comes from SantaCruzSentinel.com, and it says, campaign launches for Santa Cruz empty homes tax. Yeah, they want to put a tax on homes that are empty. Okay, so if your home is sitting empty, they want to basically tax you for that, as though you don't have the right to leave your house empty if you want to. Okay, so let's see what this article says. Community members in Santa Cruz are working to introduce an empty homes tax to voters in 2022. The tax aims to create a way to increase the amount of affordable housing available in Santa Cruz. It will do so by using tax revenue to build a fund dedicated to the development of affordable housing within the city. The community group, Yes on the empty home tax, expects the proposed tax to raise millions of dollars each year for the city's affordable housing budget, according to Cindy Dawson, a campaign volunteer. Yeah, so they are going to try to tax the people who are leaving their homes empty for whatever reason that may be, so that they can raise money for affordable housing, whatever. Okay, this is a complete joke. And the people that's going to hit the hardest are going to be landlords and maybe homeowners who have, second homes in the city. It's just not right that they go after property owners once again to try to fix this affordable housing issue. And the affordable housing issue is actually caused by the fact that, hey, this is a very popular area. A lot of people want to live there. Okay, so it's not that people are leaving their homes empty and that's why there's not enough affordable housing. The reason that there's not enough affordable housing is because the area is so popular. Okay, it's an expensive area. A lot of wealthy and well-to-do people live in that area, and that's why housing costs a lot. You don't go down to Beverly Hills and be like, oh my God, there's no affordable housing here in Beverly Hills. I mean, all these multi-million-dollar mansions. No, that's a ridiculous argument, okay? There's some places where there's just going to be more well-to-do people and less well-to-do people, okay? So it makes no sense whatsoever to even do this sort of thing. But imagine, and see, this is the problem, and this is what I've heard of a lot of what happened in California. A lot of the people who bought their homes in California bought them a long time ago, 20, 30, 40 years plus ago. And they bought them when they were a lot less expensive. So imagine here you are, okay, you are a small landlord. You bought your house 30 years ago. The housing there in Silicon Valley, it was expensive back then, but it wasn't near what it costs now. You still own this house. So now you're retired, you've moved on to somewhere else, and you decided to rent this place out. But you don't keep it rented the full year. You just, you do short-term rentals or something in there. Or maybe you keep it as a second home so that you can go back and visit family. Well, guess what? Now, because you're not in that house, they're charging you $6,000 just to keep it. I mean, come on. What kind of ridiculousness is this? I mean, where do they come up with these ideas? This is crazy, okay? It just annoys me. So let me get back into this article before I go on too much of a rant. Parcels with 6 or less units will pay a $6,000 fee if all units on the parcel are empty. If a parcel has 7 or more units, then each empty unit is taxed separately at $3,000 per empty unit. Santa Cruz has a vacancy rate of 9.5% according to the U.S. Census Bureau, which totals about 2,283 homes. Dawson noted that if just 500 homes paid the empty home tax, it would raise around $3 million for the city. Additionally, if between 1,500 and 2,000 homes paid the tax, it would raise $6 million to $8 million, she added. So yeah, all they're concerned with is raising this money. So can you imagine getting this annual bill of $6,000 or $8,000? $6,000, or if you own a bunch of, you have a bunch of empty units. I mean, it could be way, way more than that. It depends. So, I mean, this could hit landlords really, really hard. Now, I don't believe that this is going to pass. I hope it doesn't pass. I mean, I know Santa Cruz is not exactly a large city by any means. I mean, I looked it up, and I believe the population is right around 65,000 people. But remember, things like this, when other cities see laws like this, bigger cities will start saying, oh, maybe we should do the same thing. In fact, I've read about empty homes taxes in places like Toronto in Canada and, in places in Europe because, they're trying to keep people from keeping their second homes or whatever and keeping these houses empty, which they believe is going to help affordable housing. Okay, so I mean, this could easily spread to other big cities within the U.S. and we could see laws in full states that are passed. Okay, so imagine the entire state of California has this empty home tax. I mean, politicians are always looking for ways to raise taxes in some places. Okay. So yeah, the second article I have for you today, and it's going over the fact that California is trying to put more regulations out there for renters and tenants and landlords. And the conclusion I came to after reading the second article and the first article really is that regulations aren't going to help end any of the housing crisis, the homelessness issues, affordable housing shortage. It's just going to make things worse. Okay, so this article, it's coming from finance.yahoo.com, and it says, new California housing laws promise to ease housing crisis and homelessness. Let's get into it. California has become the epicenter of America's homeless crisis. Venice Beach, which attracts 10 million visitors a year, became a massive homeless camp this summer. More than 1,600 homeless people set up tents and shelters amid a community of 40,000 residents. Venice Beach is hardly the only community to see effects of the crisis. A new federal report shows there are more than 160,000 homeless people in California. That number is not surprising given that the median sales price for a single-family home in California is $811,170, up 21.7% since July of last year. Well, the people who are homeless were never going to be buying a home in California, okay? They were going to be renters, or a lot of them, they probably couldn't afford to rent anyway. I mean, the thought has always been that the reason that a lot of these people are homeless is because housing costs are so high. Now, how do you argue that though when you go to a place like where I live? I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Housing costs are much, much, much cheaper here than they are in California. Yet there's still homeless people. Okay, there's still people sleeping under bridges, standing on street corners, sleeping in parks. The homeless shelters are still full. Why, though, if the housing costs are so much less? It's because the issues that cause homelessness aren't necessarily linked to the amount of affordable housing in an area, okay? Now, California is a draw to the homeless because of the amount of benefits that they give away and the amount of warmth and sunshine they get every year. But that probably is more of an explanation of why there's so many homeless in California than anything. Just the warmth. Okay, but when it gets cold here in Nebraska, nobody wants to be homeless here. But I don't believe that more legislation, more rules, more regulations on landlords especially are going to help anything. But let me skip down to the part of the article that I thought was the most interesting here. So, the unprecedented need for new residential options and laws to bring change pushed Governor Gavin Newsom to sign several measures on September 16th. The plan is to expand housing production, streamline housing permitting, and increase density to create more inclusive and vibrant neighborhoods. And let's see exactly what it says, okay? Senate Bill 8 extends the provisions of the Housing Crisis Act of 2019 through 2030. The intent is to jumpstart more housing production by accelerating the approval process for housing projects, curtailing local government's ability to downzone, limit fee increases on housing applications, and implement accountability provisions. Senate Bill 9, or the California Housing Opportunity and More Efficiency Home Act, allows a property owner to split a single-family lot into two lots and place up to 2 units on each newly created lot. Yeah, and I covered that in a different video. Assembly Bill 1174 amends the existing approval process for housing development in jurisdictions that have not yet made enough progress toward their allocation of their regional housing needs. So, yeah, their plan to solve the affordable housing crisis is basically to pass a whole bunch of laws and rules and more hoops that you got to jump through, okay? So, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work, okay? It's just not what is needed. What they need is more housing. And how do we get more housing? They have to open up empty land so that people can build on it. They have to basically eliminate all of the bureaucracy involved in permitting processes and all the fees and charges that you have to pay. And they have to make zoning a lot easier. They have to eliminate the ridiculous stuff like you got to put solar panels on the roof of new buildings. That's ridiculous, and it drives up housing costs. Okay, so all of their rules, all of their regulations, all of that stuff is the real reason housing is so expensive in California. And I don't think for 1 second any of this new stuff that they're passing is going to do one lick to help the affordable housing crisis going on there.